You're listening to the RetireCoast Podcast, where money, business, and lifestyle come together. Join us each week as we explore smarter financial planning, starting and growing businesses, and building the life you want at every stage, from millennials and Gen X to today's retirees. And now, here's your host, serial entrepreneur, author, and financial guide, Bill Anderson.
Thank you for joining me for another RetireCoast podcast. This podcast is going to be part of a series. It's the first one of a number of these podcasts. And they're, again, as all of my podcasts are, based on articles that I've written for RetireCoast.com. This one is titled The Blueprint from Trade Mastery to Business Ownership. It's about what it takes for you to begin a career, work at a career such as HVAC, or in this case, we have the journey that Jake has taken from high school and gone to a few different jobs, all part-time jobs, and realized that one of the things he liked was plumbing. So he acquired a job working for a plumbing contractor and enjoyed the work. That's a key here. Just keep that in mind as you listen further. And we're going to talk about Jake. We're also going to talk about some of my personal experiences and why I am so passionate about the trades, about these excellent jobs today that are not only highly paid, but they are nearly AI-proof, meaning that you might choose to go into a career field that will put you out of work down the road because AI will put some people out of work. But on the other side, they're going to put some people to work. There'll be some new jobs. And we're going to be talking about new opportunities that with regard to AI. But that's not really the crux of this conversation. It's all about how the trades have been undervalued for a long time, and now we have a critical demand for them all across the country. No matter where you're at, there are jobs available for you to become an electrician or a plumber in the case of Jake, or an HVAC, or a framer, all kinds of jobs that require you to actually use some physical effort or physical skill and not sit behind a desk. So we're going to go through that process here, basically as we take Jake from just beginning to work in the field all the way through to final business ownership. And then we're going to even further, we're going to compress that timeline and take you all the way to the time when he's 70 years old and he just sold his very successful long-term company that he built from scratch and made a perfect retirement with that. So this first one is going to talk about some basics, the transitioning from skilled labor to successful entrepreneur, the technical mastery of the trade, my insistence that people be excellent at what they do, and we're going to give you some examples. Now, I have started a number of small businesses over the years, and I've sold them, and they've been successful. I wish I could tell you one of them wasn't. That's not the case. However, there have been ups and downs, and there are some warts and some issues and things that everybody encounters. But the fact is, what I'm talking about here, I've been there and I've done that. This is not something that I've made up. So when I've created these articles, actually what happened is I ended up with about 30,000 words. If you don't know that, that's very long. And I decided we had to break that up into two different, not only articles, but of course podcasts as well, because it was just too much to absorb. Even though my writing style, and hopefully the style that you're going to hear this presentation about, is easy to understand without a lot of technical jargon and details, we're going to take you through everything that you need to know to make the right decisions. And we're even going to give you, if you go to the articles themselves, free decision-making tools. If you use those tools, it'll help you decide what you want to do, and maybe it's not perfect, but it may tell you what you don't want to do also. And it's also a discussion of a path that does not involve college. What we're talking about is a whole list of different types of trades that require not more than a high school education. Hopefully you paid attention in high school and learned a few things, but if you didn't, that's the whole point of learning on the job also. And we're going to talk about how valuable that is, and we're going to talk about what I call my two-track approach, balancing learning with understanding the other side of the business. I happen to have been very fortunate over my long career to help many, many small business owners, many of them startups, get their start and move on from there. One of the things that everybody seems to have when they first start is an adaptability. In other words, the actual skill. In this case, for plumbing, this person, Jake, loves plumbing. And that's very important, too, that you like what you do. And he likes the field. He knows it. He understands it. Over time, he's learning, and he becomes very good at it. The one thing that never seems to come along at the same pace, though, is the ability to understand the business side. That's the other track. It's very, very important. Everything from how to price a job to how to buy the materials right, how to get the billing done, the taxes at the end of the year, the retirement. You get into the point where you're going to be hiring someone and you need to know all about how to hire people. How about making that first choice, that first person that you want to hire? And more important is, do you need someone? And how do you tell? Well, we have some tools for that too. Now, all of this more or less surrounds the business planning membership. And that's something that is a subscription base. It has advanced tools in it, everything to help you actually create a business, a limited liability company, for example. You can do it in my business membership. And we're going to talk about that as we go along, how valuable that is to helping you make the decision as you move from someone who's actually more of a doer every day out there swinging a wrench to the person that's making the decisions and supervising those people that are swinging the wrench. So I think it's important, regardless of what you decide to do, whether you want to work for someone the rest of your life, which is perfectly fine, or you want to be an entrepreneur. We're going to show you how to do both, and how to do both very well. So please listen to our dialogue that comes. And that dialogue is going to talk about my approach and the skills that Jake has to gain. And then when this one is finished, please listen to the next one in order. That'll be published right behind this one. And it basically is the continuation of Jake's journey to learn not only the business side from the wrench side, but also the business side to become an owner down the road. So we're going to take it slow, and we're going to go through this a little bit at a time, and we'll have a third and a fourth and a fifth installment as we get into more of the details. But the first two are basically a big discussion of what we're talking about, our major topics, our policies, the idea that you need to treat everybody fairly, and if you're leaving, for example, an employer that helped you learn the job, that you do it in a good way, because you may need to work with that person down the road. So we're going to introduce a lot of different concepts here that you will be, in the process, you'll be observing these things, but if we point them out now and you listen to this podcast and you read the articles, then you'll be aware of them. It'll help you along your journey, because most of what we have in this podcast and in the articles, you're not going to get anywhere else. You may go to a trade school, which I think is great, to learn a skill. Again, it's terrific that you do that, but that skill has to be applied, and how you apply it is very important, and you'll learn that actually on the job. Every job is different, every employer is different, every area is different, and you'll learn to be very specific about what you have to do every day, because you're going to have a supervisor or a mentor moving you along the way here. So we're going to help you pick up all the pieces and put it all together. That's the whole point here. And I want you to succeed. I want to see more and more people go into the trades for great reasons. One is you can raise a family The companies that I started, I hired people, hundreds of people over time, and I helped them get going, and most all of them were some type of a trade. I watched them raise their families, take their kids over to Little League, and eventually when the children were old enough, they got married and they had children of their own. So I was more or less on the sidelines as the top supervisors. My company kept getting bigger. I just kept a track of my great employees, and I saw how their lives were balanced well, and they made good money. And a few of them decided to go off on their own, and I helped them do that as well. So regardless of what path you take, choosing a career in one of the trades is an excellent move today. And I'll close by saying that I hope that you will come back and listen to the next podcast and the podcast after that. And please, make some comments and follow us on your whatever podcast system you're using, whether it's Apple or Buzzsprout or one of the others. And thank you. I'll catch you at the end of this dialogue.
So I want you to imagine a scenario for a second. Just, put yourself right there.
Okay, let's hear it.
You are 70 years old. You're sitting back. Maybe you're on a porch somewhere, maybe on a boat, right?
Yeah.
And you are just looking at this incredibly successful business you just finalized the sale of.
The dream, right?
Exactly. But we aren't talking about like selling off a couple of rusty used trucks and a basic client list.
Mm-hmm.
We are talking about an 8-figure asset sale.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, an acquisition that guarantees this very, very comfortable generational retirement for your family. And the wildest part of this whole visualization, it all started decades ago with just a single trade skill.
Right, like just one core competency.
Exactly. You learned how to pull wire or weld or fix an HVAC unit, and then you built an absolute empire around that one specific thing.
It really is the ultimate blue-collar dream,
It is. But here is the massive question we are tackling today on this deep dive. How do you actually cross that chasm?
Because it's a huge chasm.
Right. How do you get from hauling pipe or turning a wrench for an hourly wage to being the architect who eventually sells the whole empire?
Well, and that chasm is where the vast majority of, frankly, incredibly talented tradespeople just lose their way. They lose their capital, and honestly, they lose their passion for the work altogether because, well, the skills required to fix the machine are fundamentally different from the skills required to build a company that fixes machines.
Okay, let's unpack this because that transition requires an absolute teardown of how we think about employment and risk and ownership.
It really does. It's a total paradigm shift.
Right. And today, we are using this extensive guide. It's titled From Skilled Worker to Business Owner, and our mission is to map out the exact blueprint for taking that massive step.
Which is so needed, honestly.
Yeah, we are going to explore the hidden financial traps that bankrupt perfectly good tradespeople. And we are going to completely rethink what it actually means to, be your own boss. Because what pop culture tells you that means is
dangerously inaccurate.
Dangerously inaccurate. Exactly.
It's important to establish right out of the gate here, in a calm, analytical way, that the roadmap we're exploring today is not a get-rich-quick scheme.
Oh, not at all.
Right. It's the exact opposite. It is methodical. It is a highly structured, two-track process that basically treats this transition to business ownership as an exercise in data collection.
Data collection and extreme patience, right?
Exactly. It leaves zero room for blind optimism.
And that level of rigor is precisely why I'm so eager to jump into this material. Because whether you are a plumber staring at a leaky pipe right now, or maybe a military veteran transitioning back into civilian life.
With a highly technical skill set, right?
Right. Or even just someone who wants to understand the absolute DNA of what makes a small business survive those brutal first few years. This deep dive is going to fundamentally change how you view your career.
I think we have to start by dismantling perhaps the single most dangerous piece of entrepreneurial advice that has ever, permeated our culture.
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
Yeah, the glorification of the leap of faith.
The leap of faith. We are totally obsessed with it.
We really are.
The cultural narrative tells you that to be a true entrepreneur, you have to have this cinematic moment. You march into your boss's office, you slam your resignation on the desk, you burn the boats, and you just go all in on your dream.
Right, the guy who maxed out his credit cards and slept on a concrete floor.
Yes. We celebrate that guy.
Well, we celebrate it Because of survivorship bias. I mean, we only ever hear about the one guy who survived that leap.
That's a great point.
Right. We don't hear about the 10,000 other people who took the exact same leap, shattered their financial legs, went bankrupt, and destroyed their families' futures.
Yeah, the silent majority.
Exactly. There is absolutely no prize for quitting your job prematurely. The market does not reward you for taking unnecessary risks.
Right.
In fact, taking a blind leap of faith is often the fastest way to suffocate a perfectly viable business before it even really starts.
So what's the alternative then?
The strategic approach is to build a bridge instead of taking a leap. And the foundation of that bridge is a massive shift in mindset. You have to start treating your current employment, like your day job, as a paid education.
Oh, okay, I want to push back on that a little bit.
Go for it.
Because treating a job you hate as a paid education sounds great in theory, right? But when you are exhausted and you're underpaid and you are literally making someone else rich every day.
It's a tough pill to swallow.
It's a really tough pill.
Right.
Why shouldn't someone who is an absolute master of their craft just go out and capture all that profit margin for themselves immediately?
I get that instinct.
Like, let's say I'm an amazing lead guitarist. Why shouldn't I just start my own record label right now?
Well, because being an amazing lead guitarist has absolutely nothing to do with running a record label.
Okay.
For you know how to play the solo, that's great. But you don't know how to negotiate mechanical royalties or manage distribution supply chains.
Right. Or handle copyright lawsuits.
Exactly. If you start a label without knowing those things, your talent on the guitar is completely irrelevant. You will fail.
Wow. Okay.
And the exact same logic applies to the trades. This is what the source material calls the two tracks, or the second apprenticeship.
The second apprenticeship. I like that.
Yeah, so if your long-term goal is to own the company, you have to realize you are actually working two careers simultaneously. Track 1 is becoming exceptional at your trade. Track 2 is learning the business side.
And track 2 involves a completely different vocabulary, doesn't it?
A completely different vocabulary and honestly a wildly different set of consequences.
Right.
Track 2 includes, pricing, estimating, taxes, liability insurance, cash flow management, payroll, all of that.
Stuff you never think about when you're just doing the work.
Right. Most tradespeople only focus on track 1. They master the pipe fitting or the electrical wiring, and they just assume that mastery makes them ready for ownership.
Right. They think, I know the wires, so I know the business.
Exactly. But here is the critical insight from the guide.
Yeah.
While you are learning track 2, your employer is the one carrying all the financial risk of your education.
That is a fascinating way to frame it. So your employer is basically subsidizing your business education, assuming you're actually paying attention.
Precisely. Let's say you are learning how to quote a commercial job. Right.
Okay.
You watch your boss make a miscalculation on materials and it costs the company $5,000. Well, you just learned a $5,000 lesson on quoting and it didn't cost you a single dime.
Oh, wow. That's huge.
It is. Or if an unhappy customer threatens a lawsuit, you get to sit back and observe how your employer's legal counsel and their liability insurance handle the whole dispute.
Entirely on their dime.
Entirely on their dime. The employer's operation is a living, breathing laboratory. It is literally the most valuable educational resource a future owner has.
Let's ground this with the specific avatar from the text. Let's call him Jake Miller.
Okay, Jake the plumber.
Right. Jake is 24. He's this frailly ambitious plumber. He's been hauling pipe, cleaning up job sites, getting his hours in, and he's gotten exceptionally good at the technical work.
He's crushed track 1.
He has. And because he's ambitious, he wants to start Jake Miller Plumbing immediately. He looks at the invoice his boss hands the customer. He sees $1,000 for 2 hours of work. Then he looks at his $25 an hour paycheck.
And he gets mad.
He gets mad. He thinks, I'm the one turning the wrench here. I should be keeping the $1,000.
Jake is making the classic error. He is equating the physical execution of the service with the operation of the entire enterprise.
Right.
Jake knows how to fix the plumbing, sure, but he is completely blind to the infrastructure that put him in front of that leaky pipe in the first place.
He doesn't see the hidden costs.
Not at all. He doesn't know what it costs to acquire that customer. He doesn't know what the commercial auto insurance costs to put that fully stocked service truck in the driveway.
Oh, or how the employer covers payroll on weeks when those big commercial clients take 60 days to pay their invoices.
Exactly. Jake views his current job as this holding pattern, like an obstacle to his dreams. But he should be recognizing it as the exact preparation ground he needs to survive.
It seems like military veterans, especially transitioning to civilian life, would be particularly vulnerable to this exact trap.
Oh, absolutely. They are a prime example.
Because you have folks who spent the last 8 years working on incredibly complex, heavy equipment, right? Aviation mechanics or advanced cybersecurity.
Right. They have world-class skills already.
Exactly. They are far beyond the Track 1 apprenticeship. So it makes total sense that they would think, I have the discipline, I have the technical superiority, I am opening my shop on day one of civilian life.
It makes sense intuitively, yeah. But it totally ignores the fundamental differences between military operations and civilian market dynamics.
How so?
Well, the military environment, for all its rigor and discipline, is completely insulated from civilian economic pressures.
Right, they aren't worried about going out of business.
Exactly. Military technical experience gives you an enormous head start, absolutely. But veterans still really, really need a civilian apprenticeship.
Why, though? If the logistics and the technology in the military are often superior, what are they actually missing?
Margin pressure and civilian customer acquisition.
Ah.
In the military, if you need a part to fix a generator, you just order the part through the supply chain. You aren't calling 3 different local vendors trying to negotiate a 4% discount so your quote beats a competitor's quote.
Right, you aren't haggling over pennies.
No, and you aren't dealing with a homeowner who suddenly changes their mind halfway through a build and just refuses to pay you.
That's a completely different stressor.
It is. You have to learn civilian business operations. You have to observe civilian customer behavior, which is vastly different from a chain of command.
To say the least.
Right. You have to learn local licensing regulations, state taxes, civilian liability, workers' comp. You aren't taking a civilian job to relearn the trade. You are taking it to learn how your trade operates as a profitable enterprise in an open, unforgiving market.
That distinction is crucial. You aren't relearning the trade, you're learning the market.
Exactly.
So if you are going to stay at your job to build this bridge, you have to be highly intentional about what you are extracting from that experience.
Yeah.
Which brings us to a pretty harsh reality about Track 1, the actual trade skill.
Yes.
There is a massive, massive gulf between basic competence and true excellence. And becoming a business owner does not grant you a grace period to figure that out.
It actually works in the reverse.
Yeah.
Becoming an owner doesn't lower the standard for your trade. It significantly raises it.
Right.
The foundational rule here, and the source highlights this perfectly, is that customers aren't paying you to practice.
Customers aren't paying you to practice. That is just a brilliant distillation.
Oh, that's true.
Because when you are the employee, there is this invisible safety net beneath everything you do.
Right. You always have backup.
Yeah. If you get stuck on a difficult diagnostic issue, you can call the senior technician. If the senior tech gets stuck, they call the owner. But when your name is on a LLC and you are standing in a customer's flooded basement,
you are the end of the line.
You are the end of the line. There's no one else to call.
And the customer, they do not care about your entrepreneurial journey.
No, they don't.
They don't care that you're so brave for starting your own business. They don't care about your overhead costs. They care that their crisis is resolved immediately, permanently, and professionally.
They expect an absolute expert.
They do. Excellence isn't just a marketing buzzword you throw on a van. It is a mandatory baseline for your survival. But there is this fascinating paradox that emerges once you actually achieve that level of excellence.
This is the part that really surprised me in the reading. Excellence alone doesn't guarantee a successful business.
Not at all.
In fact, it can be a massive trap because you can be an incredibly skilled tradesperson, an absolute master of your craft, and simultaneously completely hate doing the work.
It happens all the time. I mean, people develop a profound competence in a field, like plumbing or electrical or automotive repair, simply because they are smart and they put the hours in.
Right, they just grind it out.
Yeah, but they dread going to work every single morning. They find the actual day-to-day reality of the trade exhausting or just unfulfilling.
And the logical fallacy there is thinking that if you just owned the business, you would magically start loving the work.
Yes, that's the trap.
You think, I just hate my boss. If I'm in charge, I'll love being an electrician.
And it is a fatal miscalculation. If excellence in this field doesn't give you genuine satisfaction, creating a business around it is perhaps the worst decision you could possibly make.
Because you can't escape the work.
Right. Starting a company does not remove the parts of the trade you dislike. It amplifies them. And then it bolts on a mountain of new stressors.
Oh, I can only imagine.
It adds estimating, resolving aggressive customer complaints, managing payroll taxes, enduring insurance audits, late-night bookkeeping.
Just a nightmare if you already hate it.
Exactly. If you are miserable turning wrenches for 40 hours a week, you are going to be in absolute agony turning wrenches for 40 hours and then doing administrative work for another 30 hours on top of it. It will only multiply your misery.
Multiply your misery. That is a stark warning. So to avoid that, you have to actively pursue a trade that intellectually engages you.
You have to actually like the mechanics of what you do.
Right. And there's a great historical example in the source of this pursuit of excellence over immediate profit.
The alternator story.
Yes. Imagine a young guy starting out distributing automotive parts. He notices he's selling a massive volume of rebuilt alternators and starters.
Okay.
Now, the easy route, right, the standard business move, is to just find a wholesale supplier, buy the rebuilt parts, mark them up 30%, and pocket the difference. Pure arbitrage.
It's the path of least resistance. And I mean, it generates immediate cash flow, but it is strategically shallow.
Why is it shallower?
Because it keeps you completely dependent on someone else's expertise and quality control. If your supplier's quality drops, your reputation drops. You can't do anything about it.
Okay, so instead of taking that easy markup, this guy tracks down a master builder. It's this battery salesman who just happens to be a savant at rebuilding these specific electrical components.
Right.
And the young distributor makes a highly unusual deal. He doesn't ask for a discount on the parts. He doesn't ask to just stand there and watch. He trades his own free labor.
He works for free.
He works for this master builder for free, helping him sell his batteries, sweeping the floors, whatever is needed, all in exchange for the deep proprietary knowledge of how to rebuild these alternators to the absolute highest possible standard.
He wanted to know the craft inside and out.
Exactly. He isn't settling for good enough to sell. He wants top-tier, zero-defect quality.
The economic calculation happening there is profound, if you think about it. He explicitly chose to exchange current income for future equity in his own mind.
Right, investing in his own brain.
Yeah. Every single hour he spent working for free for that battery salesman was an hour he was not out on his delivery route, selling products and putting cash in his pocket. He intentionally lowered his immediate standard of living.
I really want to dig into that psychological barrier. Why is that specific trade-off, sacrificing $1 today for knowledge tomorrow, so agonizing for new entrepreneurs? We talk a big game about investing in ourselves, but the reality of working for free just feels like a massive step backward.
Because the entrepreneurial drive is almost universally fueled by a desire for immediate independence and immediate financial validation.
Validation is the key word there.
Right. When you are starting out, you are desperate for revenue. Revenue feels like proof. It feels like validation that you aren't crazy, that your business is actually working.
Look, I made $50. I'm a real business.
Exactly. So taking a step back, becoming an unpaid student again, intentionally throttling your income, it feels counterintuitive to this whole hustle culture we've been sold. It feels like you're losing momentum.
But are you?
No, but the reality is that without underlying undeniable excellence, any momentum you have is just a house of cards waiting for a stiff breeze.
Yeah.
The market will eventually test your quality. And if you merely arbitrated someone else's work, you have no foundation to fall back on when things get tough.
This dedication to the craft, to the manual arts, it feels incredibly timely right now.
It really does.
Because we have this societal default right now where we funnel everyone toward a generic 4-year college degree. And we subtly, or sometimes not so subtly, treat manual labor or the skilled trades as this fallback plan for people who, quote unquote, couldn't handle real academics.
Which is such a damaging mindset.
It is. But the economic realities are shifting aggressively. Think about the work organizations like the Mike Rowe Works Foundation are doing.
Mike Rowe has been championing this for years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You look at someone who maybe struggled with traditional classroom learning, right?
Right.
But they possess immense spatial intelligence and mechanical aptitude.
Right.
They discover carpentry or heavy metalworking or commercial welding. That isn't a fallback plan anymore.
Not at all.
That is a trajectory toward a highly successful career as a master tradesperson, often leading to supervisory roles, substantial equity, massive retirement benefits, all without carrying $100,000 in student loan debt.
The market for elite manual skills is experiencing a massive supply and demand imbalance right now. The trades are premium, highly viable career tracks that very often out-earn white-collar middle management positions.
Absolutely.
And once you achieve true excellence on those tracks, you finally earn the right to position yourself as the owner. But, and this is a monumental pivot in our discussion here,
Okay, lay it on me.
The very concept of being the boss is fundamentally misunderstood by almost everyone.
Yes, the illusion of the solo boss.
Yeah.
Because we all know the phrase, right? I want to be my own boss.
Everyone says it.
It's the rallying cry. No one telling me when to clock in, no one capping my salary, no one dictating my schedule. It sounds like total autonomy.
It is the ultimate entrepreneurial myth. Total autonomy does not exist in business.
It doesn't.
No. When you transition from employee to owner, you do not eliminate your boss. You multiply them.
You multiply them. I just love that framing. You think you're firing one manager, but you're actually hiring a dozen new ones.
Exactly.
So who are these new bosses?
Well, what's fascinating here is that first and foremost, it's your customers.
Right.
If a commercial client has a massive plumbing failure at 4:05 p.m. on a Friday before a long holiday weekend, and you own the company, that client is your boss.
And they are calling you.
They are calling you, and they do not care that you have been working since dawn. They do not care about your dinner plans. They control the revenue, which means they dictate the schedule. But it isn't just the customers. Your vendors have requirements and credit limits that dictate how you purchase materials. Local government inspectors dictate when and how you can actually close out a job.
Oh, like the IRS.
The IRS dictates when your quarterly taxes are due, regardless of your personal cash flow. The insurance underwriters dictate what kind of work you can perform and what safety protocols you must enforce.
It's endless.
You are surrounded by entities that have authority over your operations.
So you are constantly negotiating the demands of all these competing entities. It requires a massive psychological shift.
A huge one.
The job of the owner is fundamentally different from the job of the technician. You stop being the person who does the work, and you start being the person who builds the environment where the work can be done.
And this is exactly where so many highly skilled tradespeople hit a ceiling they just can't break through.
Because they just want to do the work.
Right. Eventually, if you want the business to grow beyond a single truck, the owner's highest value to the company is no longer turning wrenches.
What does it become?
The highest value becomes strategic resource allocation. It's deciding who to hire, identifying which geographic markets to expand into, negotiating better rates with suppliers, managing complex liabilities, and, above all else, managing the money.
Which brings us to the biggest, scariest boss of them all.
Oh, yeah.
The cash flow monster.
Cash flow is absolutely ruthless, and it does not care about your intentions.
No, it doesn't.
We need to make a critical distinction here that every single person listening must internalize. Profit and cash flow are not the same thing.
Say that again.
Profit and cash flow are completely different metrics. You can run a highly profitable business on paper and still go completely irrevocably bankrupt.
Okay, let's slow down and really unpack this, because this is where businesses die.
They do.
How can a profitable business go bankrupt? Like, if I'm selling a service for more than it costs me to deliver it, I am making a profit.
Right.
How can I be broke? Break down the mechanics of this for us.
It all comes down to the timeline of the money.
The timeline. Okay.
Yeah. In a standard B2C or business-to-consumer retail environment, you buy a coffee, you hand the barista $5, and the transaction is complete.
Right. Instant cash.
The business has the cash instantly. But in the trades, especially as you move into lucrative commercial work, you are operating in a B2B or business-to-business environment, and that involves invoicing and payment terms.
Right, like net 30 or net 60 terms.
Exactly. Net 30 means the client has 30 days after the invoice is received to actually pay you.
Okay.
Now, let's apply this to Jake Miller, our plumber.
Let's do it.
Jake lands a massive $15,000 commercial plumbing job. He quotes it perfectly. His labor and materials will cost him $8,000, leaving him a fantastic $7,000 gross profit margin.
That's a great margin.
On his spreadsheet, this is a massively profitable job.
He's popping champagne, right?
On paper, yes.
Yeah.
But let's look at the actual calendar. Day one, Jake goes to the supply house. He has to buy $4,000 worth of copper pipe, fittings, and valves out of his own pocket.
Okay, so the cash flows out of his bank account.
Right. Day three, he pays his assistant's wages for the week. More cash flows out.
Ouch.
Day 10, he finishes the job. He burns fuel in the truck. He pays his monthly liability insurance premium. The cash continues to hemorrhage. He has now spent $8,000.
Right, the money has completely vanished before the job is even fully signed off on.
Exactly. Now, on day 12, he submits the $15,000 invoice to the commercial client, but the client operates on strict net 30 terms.
Oh.
So for the next 30 days, Jake receives nothing.
Wow.
Let's look at Jake's bank account on day 30. He is down $8,000. His truck needs a new transmission. His personal mortgage is due. If he doesn't have operating reserves, he cannot pay those bills.
He's stuck.
His business is highly profitable on the ledger, but because of the cash flow gap.
The time between spending and receiving.
Yes, because of that gap, he is functionally insolvent.
I'd like to use a mechanical analogy for this. Profit is the fuel in your engine, but cash flow is the oil.
I love that.
Right. You can have a massive tank full of premium fuel, which represents all these highly profitable contracts you signed. But if you run out of oil, if you lose that liquidity that lubricates the moving parts,
The engine's timing seizes.
exactly, the rods snap and the machine destroys itself, regardless of how much fuel was in the tank.
That is a highly accurate representation. The friction of daily expenses will destroy the engine before the fuel of delayed revenue ever reaches the cylinders.
It's terrifying.
And this is exactly why testing the business model before you quit your day job is so vital. You have to stress test your cash flow mechanics. You have to know if your business can survive that 30 or 60-day desert.
Right.
But there is a massive caveat here. You have to test it the right way.
Which introduces the concept of the side hustle, the testing ground.
Yes, the side hustle.
I guarantee a huge portion of our listeners are running a side hustle right now. You work your 9 to 5, and then you take weekend jobs, evening jobs, slowly building up a client base to see if you can make a real go of it.
Very cool.
But the guide outlines incredibly strict, non-negotiable boundaries for this phase if you actually want accurate data.
The primary directive of the transition phase is this: operate ethically.
Operate ethically.
And this isn't just a moral suggestion, it is a strategic imperative. If you are testing a business on the side, you do not, under any circumstances, steal your employer's customers. You do not leverage their proprietary lists. You do not borrow the company truck. And you do not use company tools or materials for your side jobs without explicit documented permission.
Let me play devil's advocate here for a sec, because I hear people justify this constantly.
Oh, call
An employee thinks, look, I'm the one doing the actual work at these houses. The customer requested me specifically. My boss is charging them $150 an hour. I'm only seeing 30 of it. Aren't I doing the customer a favor by offering to do it on the side for $100? It's a win-win. Why shouldn't I leverage that relationship?
Because you are lying to yourself about what you are actually testing.
Ooh, harsh, but true.
When you poach a customer from your employer, you aren't proving that you have a viable business. You are just arbitraging your employer's marketing budget.
Right, they paid to find that person.
Your employer spent the money on advertising, SEO, brand reputation, and overhead to acquire that customer. If your side hustle relies on siphoning off that existing pipeline, you have completely failed to test the single most difficult aspect of running a business.
Which is?
Customer acquisition.
Wow, that hits the nail on the head. You don't know how to acquire customers. You only know how to intercept them.
Precisely. And when you finally quit your job and cut yourself off from your employer's pipeline, you will suddenly find yourself in a cold, indifferent market with zero knowledge of how to generate your own leads.
Because you never practiced it.
Exactly. Your business model is fundamentally hollow.
It's like playing a rigged arcade game.
How so?
You sit down at the racing game, right? And the machine is secretly set to easy mode. You're winning every round by a mile. And you start thinking, I am a generational talent at this game. I'm going to quit my job, travel to Vegas, and bet my life savings in a professional esports tournament.
Right, because you think you're a genius.
Exactly. You don't realize the machine was artificially rigged in your favor. When you step into the real tournament, the open competitive market, you get absolutely obliterated because you never actually learn the advanced mechanics of the game.
That is exactly what happens. And honestly, the author actually shares his own massive miscalculation regarding this exact trap.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was testing his automotive parts distribution business on his days off. He went out, made a bunch of sales, saw real money flowing into his bank account, felt incredibly validated, and immediately quit his steady, well-paying management job to go full-time.
But the money was real, right? He wasn't stealing from his employer. How was the validation an illusion?
The money was real, but the source of the momentum was inherited. He had partnered with a colleague whose father owned an existing established franchise in the industry. The customers he was selling to on his weekends were already loosely tied to that existing network.
Oh, I see.
They trusted the network. He hadn't proven that he could walk into a completely cold mechanics shop with zero brand recognition and close a sale from scratch.
He skipped the hardest part.
He proved he could fulfill orders for a warm audience, but he had zero data on his ability to build a sustainable, independent customer base.
He bet his life on the rigged arcade game.
He did. When he quit his job and that inherited momentum inevitably slowed down, reality hit him like a freight train.
Yeah.
The cold market income just wasn't there. He is very transparent in the text that if his wife hadn't maintained a strong, steady income to act as a financial bulkhead, his premature leap could have completely devastated his family.
That is terrifying.
It's a very real risk.
And aside from the false data of inherited customers, there is another massive psychological trap with the side hustle. The sheer burnout factor.
But burnout is real.
It starts small, right? You take one job on a Saturday. The money is great. So you take another on Sunday. Then you start squeezing jobs in on Tuesday nights.
And suddenly, you are no longer running a side hustle. You are actively working 2 full-time jobs.
Right.
You are physically and mentally exhausted. Your performance at your day job begins to slip, which jeopardizes your primary income.
Your safe money.
Exactly. Your family life deteriorates because you are never present. And ironically, the quality of your side work declines because you are rushing.
You're just trying to get it done.
But the most dangerous part of the 2-job trap is that you become so consumed with doing the work.
Shoveling coal into the engine.
Yes. You get so busy shoveling coal that you stop preparing the actual business infrastructure.
You stop laying the tracks, you're just reacting to the immediate demands of the labor.
Exactly.
Which is a perfect segue into how we should be thinking about growth.
Let's get into it.
If you survive the cash flow crunch and you manage to launch ethically, how do you actually grow the business without losing control and burning out? Let's talk about the railroad track metaphor.
The railroad analogy is a brilliant framework for strategic adaptation. It operates on the premise that every healthy business must have a main track.
Okay.
This is your core competency. It is the fundamental service that generates your reliable revenue. For Jake, our fictional plumber, the main track is commercial and residential plumbing repair.
Makes sense.
Now, as you travel down that main track, the market is going to present you with branch lines.
Branch lines.
These are new opportunities, new services, or new products you could potentially offer.
And entrepreneurs are notoriously susceptible to shiny object syndrome.
Oh, we are the worst at it.
We see a new opportunity and we immediately want to chase it.
It is an occupational hazard. The discipline of a true entrepreneur is developing the analytical rigor to differentiate between a branch line that loops back and reinforces the main track and a dead-end branch line that pulls capital and attention away until it derails the entire train.
Let's illustrate both. Give me a scenario where Jake completely derails his train.
Okay. Let's say Jake's plumbing business is generating strong cash flow.
Awesome.
He's driving home one day and sees a vacant, fully equipped diner for sale at a ridiculously low price. He thinks, I'm a business owner now. I know how to run a company. The real estate is cheap. I should buy this and open a restaurant.
Oh, no.
That is a catastrophic dead-end branch line. Running a restaurant has absolutely nothing to do with plumbing.
Zero overlap.
It doesn't utilize his supply chain, it doesn't serve his existing customer base, and the operational mechanics are entirely foreign to him. It will consume his capital, divide his attention, and likely fail.
Right. It's pure distraction masquerading as expansion. But what does a good branch line look like? How do you expand intelligently?
A healthy branch line solves a problem related to your core competency.
Okay, give me an example.
Suppose Jake, while running his business, realizes that every single plumber on the Gulf Coast has trouble sourcing a very specific high-end commercial valve.
A supply issue.
Right. The regional supply houses don't stock it, and everyone has to wait 3 weeks for it to ship from the manufacturer. Jake does the research, leverages his capital, and negotiates to become the exclusive regional distributor for that specific valve.
Oh, that is brilliant.
It is a perfect branch line. It utilizes his deep industry knowledge. It serves an audience he already intimately understands, which is other plumbers.
Right.
And most importantly, it solves a real market friction point. It is a new revenue stream that structurally reinforces his main track.
To navigate these branch lines successfully, you have to be highly adaptable.
Very.
There are 2 quotes used in this framework that perfectly capture the tension between rigid planning and chaotic adaptation. The first is from Mike Tyson. Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. And the second is from Dwight D. Eisenhower. Plans are worthless, but planning is everything.
Putting those 2 quotes together is just a masterstroke. The underlying argument is that your initial pristine business plan will almost certainly not survive first contact with reality.
Never does.
The market is going to punch you in the mouth. You will build a financial model assuming a certain product will be your best seller, and the market will just ignore it. You will launch a service as an afterthought, and customers will batter down your door demanding it.
So if the plan is going to fail, why spend months writing it? Why not just wing it?
Because, as Eisenhower noted, the process of planning is what actually matters.
The process.
Yes. The value of the business plan isn't in its ability to predict the future. The value is that building the plan forces you to rigorously map out your cash flow cycles, identify your target demographics, and calculate your break-even margins.
You learn the mechanics of your own machine.
Exactly. When the market inevitably shifts, you don't panic. You possess the analytical framework required to rapidly adapt your strategy. You understand the levers of your business well enough to pivot safely.
And sometimes adapting to the market requires sophisticated collaboration.
It really does.
There is a strategy detailed in this blueprint regarding collaboration without merging that I think is one of the most powerful financial maneuvers a small business owner can learn.
You are referring to the joint purchasing company structure.
Yes.
This is truly a masterclass in creative corporate governance and capital efficiency. Here is the scenario. The author and a trusted colleague were both aggressively growing their independent automotive supply businesses.
Okay, two separate businesses.
They were scaling well, but they were running into a massive cash flow bottleneck. They were tying up far too much of their operating capital in bulk inventory just to secure better pricing.
The cash flow monster strikes again. Growth eats cash.
Exactly. Now, the standard response would be for the two competitors to formally merge their companies. They would combine their balance sheets, pool their cash, and buy inventory together.
But merging is a nightmare.
It's awful.
You have to agree on valuation, you completely lose your autonomy, and if the partnership sours, the legal unspooling is just catastrophic.
Right, which is exactly why they didn't merge.
So what do they do?
Instead, they maintained 100% independent ownership of their core businesses. But they created a third, legally distinct entity, a jointly owned purchasing company.
A third company. Okay.
They both injected initial capital into this third company, and the sole purpose of this joint entity was to use that pooled capital to buy massive quantities of inventory at steep volume discounts.
Okay, so the joint company holds the inventory. How do the independent businesses actually get it?
Their independent businesses would then purchase the products from their own joint company at a 10% markup.
Wait, pause. They were intentionally marking up the products to themselves. Why would they voluntarily increase their own cost of goods sold?
Because they left that 10% profit inside the joint company.
Oh, wow.
Think about the compounding effect of that. Every time they bought inventory from themselves, the joint company generated a 10% profit margin.
Right.
That profit accumulated, giving the joint company a larger cash reserve. With a larger cash reserve, the joint company could buy even larger bulk orders, securing even deeper discounts from the manufacturers and expanding the catalog of products they could offer their customers.
That is incredible.
They solved their cash flow crisis, expanded their inventory, and retained total independence of their primary livelihoods.
I just want to underline the brilliance of that. Independence and collaboration are not mutually exclusive.
Not at all.
You don't have to build an empire completely alone, but you also don't have to surrender equity in your core business to get leverage. But let me challenge this for a second. If there's all this cash building up in the joint company, how do you prevent one partner from suddenly demanding a payout to, I don't know, buy a boat or just raiding the treasury?
That is where the legal readiness comes in. You structure the operating agreement of the joint LLC to strictly dictate the use of funds.
Get it in writing.
Exactly. You mandate that capital can only be deployed for inventory acquisition, and you require unanimous consent for owner distributions.
So you can't just take the money.
Right. It requires immense operational discipline. Most new business owners see a pile of profit and immediately think about lifestyle inflation.
I need a new truck.
I need a new truck. I'm taking a vacation. Yeah. Leaving the money inside the corporate structure to act as an engine for compounding growth is the exact discipline that separates an owner who has merely created a job for themselves from an owner who is building a true asset.
That distinction is profound. So we have explored the two tracks, we've dissected the cash flow monster, we've talked about the ethics of testing your market, and we've mapped out how to expand intelligently. We've covered a lot. With all of these complex variables spinning in the air, how on earth do you know when it is the exact right moment to finally walk into your boss's office and say, I'm done?
That brings us to the ultimate crucible, the go-no-go decision.
The moment of truth.
And the foundational rule of this moment is that leaving your steady paycheck cannot be an emotional reaction.
No slamming the desk.
It cannot be because you had a screaming match with your supervisor. It cannot be because you had one wildly profitable weekend doing side jobs. It must be a calculated execution based on cold, hard math.
It has to be binary. The math either works or it doesn't.
Exactly. You must rely on a concrete diagnostic checklist. We utilize a framework from the text called the RetireCoast Business Startup Readiness Check.
It's a mouthful, but it works.
It does. It fractures the concept of readiness into 7 distinct, measurable pillars. You have to evaluate yourself ruthlessly across every single one. If you fail one, you do not launch.
Let's walk through these 7 pillars because this is the actual launch sequence.
Okay, let's do it.
Pillar number 1 is technical readiness.
This refers back to our discussion on excellence. Are you truly an expert in your craft? Can you deliver the quality you are promising without a safety net, without calling a senior tech, and without fail?
Right. If you're guessing, you're not ready.
If your work is inconsistent, you are not ready.
Pillar number 2, financial readiness. And this isn't just about having some savings, is it? There is a massive firewall you have to build here.
You have to separate your personal survival capital from your business startup capital.
2 different buckets.
Yes. You need 6 months of personal living expenses in an account that the business cannot touch under any circumstances. Then you need a separate pool of capital to fund the business operations and survive the cash flow gaps we discussed.
The 30-day desert.
Exactly. If the business burns through its cash, you cannot allow it to burn through your family's mortgage payment. If you don't have 2 distinct safety nets, you are not financially ready.
Pillar number 3 is market readiness.
This is about data, not gut feelings. Have you proven, through ethical side hustling or rigorous market research, that customers will actually pay the specific prices you need to charge to hit your margins?
Right.
Or are you just guessing what the market will bear?
Pillar 4, business readiness.
Do you understand the Track 2 mechanics? Can you actually run the back office? Do you know how to do basic bookkeeping, estimate complex jobs, manage the cash flow cycle, and calculate your quarterly tax obligations?
Pillar 5, legal and regulatory readiness. This is the stuff that can get you shut down overnight.
Absolutely. Do you have the correct state and municipal licenses? Is your corporate veil established properly through an LLC or S Corp? Do you carry the necessary commercial liability insurance?
Right.
And crucially, have you reviewed any non-compete or non-solicitation agreements you signed with your current employer?
Because if you get sued on day 1, you're done.
Exactly.
Pillar 6 is personal readiness. And honestly, I think this might be the most underestimated factor of them all. We talk so much about the business, but what about the family?
The divorce rate among new entrepreneurs is staggering for a reason.
It really is.
Is your spouse, your partner, your family genuinely prepared for this? Can your personal life withstand the erratic schedule, the inevitable financial stress, and the emotional volatility of the first 3 years?
Because it will be volatile.
If you do not have alignment at home, the business will crush your personal life, or your personal life will sabotage the business.
And finally, the 7th pillar, network readiness.
Who can you call when you encounter catastrophe you just cannot solve?
When you're out of your depth.
Do you have an established relationship with a CPA, an aggressive insurance broker, an experienced mentor, or even a network of senior tradespeople who will actually pick up the phone when you're panicking?
And this requirement for a strong network ties directly into one of the most counterintuitive strategies in the entire transition process.
Oh, the unburned bridge.
The concept of the unburned bridge. When you finally pull the trigger and leave your job, the instinct is to walk out triumphantly, maybe drop a few hard truths on your way out, and declare your independence.
Doing that is an act of supreme ego and, honestly, strategic stupidity.
It really is.
When you leave, you must do it with absolute professionalism. You finish your pending projects, you clean your truck, you return every single tool, you shake your boss's hand and express genuine gratitude for the education they subsidized.
Leave on good terms.
Because in the specialized trades, your competitors are not necessarily your enemies.
That is a profound paradigm shift. We are taught that business is war, that it's this zero-sum game against the guy across town.
It is not a zero-sum game. The person you view as your biggest competitor today might be the exact person who bails you out tomorrow.
How so?
They might be the only outfit in town that owns a specialized piece of heavy equipment you desperately need to rent for a day.
Oh, true.
They might get overwhelmed with contracts and refer overflow work to your new company just to keep their clients happy. If Jake Miller Plumbing lands a massive multifamily commercial contract that is simply too large to execute alone, who is Jake going to call to partner with?
He is going to call the guy whose business he didn't try to sabotage on his way out the door.
Exactly.
Imagine that exit interview. Are you gloating? Are you secretly planning to steal his best clients the next morning? Or are you shaking hands, acting with integrity, and preserving what could be a massive future asset?
Integrity has a highly measurable ROI in a local market.
That's a great way to put it.
Now, when you run yourself through those 7 pillars of the readiness checklist, there is a very, very high probability that you are going to score 8, not yet.
But you're going to miss something.
You are going to find a glaring gap. You will realize your operating capital is too low, or you will realize you know absolutely nothing about the nuances of commercial liability insurance.
And to a driven entrepreneur, a not yet feels devastating.
It feels like a failure.
It feels like the universe telling you to give up and stay in your cubicle forever.
But the framework demands that you reframe that emotion. A not yet is not a failure. It is an incredible gift.
A gift.
It is the opportunity to discover and repair a fatal, catastrophic flaw in your business model while your current employer is still paying your salary.
Right.
It is the opportunity to find the hole in the parachute before you jump out of the plane.
Finding the hole while you are still safely on the ground. That is the true essence of risk mitigation.
Exactly. You stay at the job, you study the gap, you fill the hole, and you test again.
We have covered a truly massive amount of ground today.
We really have.
We started by completely rewiring the psychology of the day job.
Yeah.
Transforming it from a trap into a subsidized masterclass. We explored the necessity of the 2 tracks, learning the technical craft and the business architecture simultaneously. We stared down the absolute ruthlessness of the cash flow monster.
The profit versus cash flow dynamic.
Yes, we established the ethical boundaries required to test your market without playing a rigged arcade game. And finally, we mapped out how to use objective data to make that calculated, unemotional, gonna-go decision.
And if we step back and connect all of these distinct mechanisms to the broader arc of an entrepreneur's life, the entire thesis of this deep dive points toward one profound realization.
What is that?
The ultimate transition isn't just going from being an employee to being an owner. That is merely the first evolution.
But the first step.
The true transition, the one that generates actual wealth and freedom, is going from an owner who does the work to an owner who owns an asset.
Let that thought linger in your mind for a second. An owner who owns an asset. Think back to that visualization we started with. The 70-year-old on the porch finalizing the sale of an empire.
That's the end game.
You start the business because you want to be the one doing the work. You love the autonomy. You love the craft. But true, generational success might mean building a machine so perfect, so well-oiled, with such resilient systems and competent people in place that you never actually have to pick up a tool again.
It runs without you.
The business breathes, grows, and generates revenue completely without your physical labor. And that is the ultimate provocation I want to leave you with today as you look at your own career. Are you building a job for yourself? Or are you ready to build a machine that makes you obsolete?
Stepping out of the machine you built is the hardest, but undeniably the most rewarding step of all.
It absolutely is. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Whether you are laying pipe, writing code, or driving a truck, keep treating every day as an education, keep protecting your cash flow, and keep laying down your tracks. We will see you next time.
Welcome back. I hope that you enjoyed listening to this and that it was helpful to you. Please be sure to come back and listen to the next iteration or next episode. It'll be right behind this one in whatever podcast player you're using. And go to our show notes where we have the link to the actual article on RetireCoast.com. Each one of our podcasts will have a link to the article that started the whole thing. So I hope that you have gotten something out of this, as I just said, and that you find it useful. Please send us comments. We'd love to hear from you if you have any suggestions or recommendations. I'm going to dig deep into this whole concept because I made my living with it as a small business, and I did very well. And a lot of people that worked with me did very well, and I helped others. So it's a great way to make a living as a full career. And I strongly encourage you, particularly those of you that aren't sure what you want to do about going to college or something, so you might want to get a job working as an electrician learning the job. You can still go to college if that's where you want to go, and maybe that'll help you down the road. Maybe you just make a transition and go and do something else. But the job that you started out working as an electrician will get you along the way. It'll help get you to where you want to go. And that may be to stay in that field and then ultimately own that business. So without taking any more time, because this is a long podcast, thank you again very sincerely for coming. And I hope that you come back to listen to our other podcasts. And don't forget to go to RetireCoast.com.